Reading from the Cloud of Unknowing. The author says he chooses to remain anonymous. So it's called the author of the cloud as the author. Chapter 4. But so that you shall not go wrong in this work of contemplation, and suppose it to be other than it is, I must tell you a little more about it as I see it. This work does not demand a long time to be fully completed. As some people suppose. For it is the briefest of all imaginable actions. It is neither longer nor shorter than an instant. An instant which, as defined by expert scientists in the field of astronomy, is the smallest unit of time. It is so teeny that its small size makes it indivisible and almost beyond our understanding. It shall be asked of you how you have spent it, and it is reasonable that you should account for it, for it is exactly equivalent, neither longer nor shorter, to a single stirring within the principal active faculty of your soul, which is your will. For exactly as many stirrings of volition or desire can and do occur in 1 hour in your will, as there are instances in 1 hour, neither more nor fewer. And if you were reformed by grace to the original state of the human soul, as it was before sin, then with the help of that grace, you would always be in control of every such stirring, or stirrings, and so none would go astray, but they would all reach out towards the supreme goal of desire and the highest object of will, which is God. For by circumscribing his Godhead, he adapts himself exactly to our soul. Our soul is exactly adapted to him by the dignity of our creation in his image and likeness. And he by himself, and none but he, is fully sufficient, and far more than fully, to satisfy the will and desire of our soul. And by means of this reforming grace, our soul is made fully sufficient to grasp him in his entirety by love. God, who is beyond the reach of all, created intellectual faculties such as those of angels and human souls. I mean, beyond the reach of their knowledge and not of their love, which is why, in the present case, I refer to intellectual faculties. Only see, all rational beings, angels and men, have in them each individually 2 principal active faculties, one a faculty of knowledge and the second a faculty of love. And God, the Maker, is forever beyond the reach of the first of these, the intellectual faculty. But by means of the second, the loving faculty, he can be fully grasped by each individual being to such an extent that each single loving soul may, by virtue of love, embrace within itself him who is fully sufficient and beyond comparison more than fully to fill all the souls and angels that can ever exist. This is the unending, marvelous miracle of love, which will never be concluded, for God will always do it, and will never cease from doing it. Let whoever has grace to see this, see it, for to experience this is unending bliss. To lack it is unending pain. Then give that by nature. We cannot exist without these stirrings of the will. Anyone who was restored by grace to be in continuous control of them will never be without some taste of eternal sweetness on earth, or without complete enjoyment of it in heaven. So do not be surprised if I urge you to this work. For as you will hear later, this is the work in which humanity would have continued if we had never sinned. And it is the work for which we were made, and everything was made for us to help and further us in it, and by it we shall once more be restored. And for want of this work we fall deeper and deeper into sin, further and further from God, and simply by perseverance and continual activity and in nothing else we always rise higher and higher from sin and nearer to God. And so take good care of time and how you spend it. For nothing is more precious than time. In one little time, however little it is, heaven may be won and lost. The sign that time is precious is that God, the giver of time, never gives 2 times together, but always 1 time after another. And he does this because he does not wish to reverse the order or the regular course of causes in his creation. For time is made for man, and not man for time, and this his disposition of time, therefore God, the ruler of nature, will not divert from the natural movement of the human soul, which consists of just one stirring at a time. Thus we shall not be able to claim forgiveness of God at the last judgment, when we are called to give account of the spending of time by saying, "You gave 2 times at once, and I have only 1 stirring of soul at a time." But now you say sadly, "How shall I manage? And since what you are saying is true, what shall I give account of such separate moment? I, who now aged 24, never before this day took heed of time. You know well, from the very reason of what you have just written, that if I should not wish to put things right, it is impossible for me, in the order of nature or ordinary grace, to control and make amends for any times but those that are yet to come. And what is more, I know from experience itself that my overwhelming weakness and sluggishness of spirit mean that I shall never be able to attend to the one future time in 100, so that I am completely confounded by these arguments. Help me now for the love of Jesus." You did well to say, "for the love of Jesus," for in the love of Jesus shall be your help. Love is so great a power that it makes all possessions common. Love Jesus, therefore, all that he is yours. Yes, is yours. As God. As God is the maker and giver of time, as man he is the true governor of time, and as God and man together, he is the truest judge and auditor of the spending of time. So bind yourself to him in love and faith, and then by means of the bond that you will be equal partners with him and with all who are thus bound to him by love, that is, with Our Lady, Saint Mary, who was full of grace all time, full of all grace in keeping time, with all the angels in heaven who may never waste time, and with all the saints in heaven and earth who, by the grace of Jesus, keep exact account of time by means of love. This is where comfort is to be found. Interpret it correctly and see some profit from it. I warn you, though, in one thing, above all, I cannot see who can truly claim this partnership with Jesus and his just mother, his holy angels and the saints, but someone who does all he can, aided by grace, to tend to time so that he can be seen to benefit the company of his part, little though that is, just as all the others do on their part, and so attend to this work of contemplation and the marvelous way it operates within your soul. For truly understood, it is just a sudden and as it were unforeseen stirring, springing swiftly to God like a spark from a coal, and it is marvelous how many stirrings can occur in an hour in a soul that is given to this work, and yet in just one of all these stirrings it can happen that you forget the whole created world suddenly and completely. But straight after each stirring, because of flesh's corruption, the soul falls down into some thought or action, done or not done, and what of that? From straight afterwards it rises again, as suddenly as it did before. Here is how to understand in brief the nature of this work, and to recognize clearly that it is far from any fantasy, the false imagining of strange opinion. For these are produced not by any such devout or humble blind stirring of love, by the proud, ingenuous, fanciful intellect. Such a proud, ingenious intellect must always be overcome and firmly trodden underfoot if the work of contemplation is to be truly undertaken in purity of spirit. And for those who hear reading or discussion about this work and suppose that it can and should be achieved by labor of intellect, and so they sit and search their intellects by ways to do it, and perhaps ingeniously torment their imagination against the course of nature, and devise a kind of activity is neither bodily nor spiritual. Truly, any such person, whoever he may be, is dangerously deceived. Indeed, unless God, of his great goodness, should miraculously take mercy on him and make him give up this activity quickly and turn humbly to the advice of experienced contemplatives, he will fall either into attacks of frenzy or into another kind of trouble, spiritual sins, diabolical deceptions, though, through which you could easily be lost, life and soul without end. So for the love of God, take care in this work and do not struggle in your intellect or imagination in any way, for I tell you truly, it cannot be achieved by this kind of struggle, so give it up and do not attempt it. Do not suppose, because I call it a darkness or a cloud, that it is a cloud condensed out of the vapors that float in the air, or the darkness like that in the house at night when your candle is out. By intellectual ingenuity you can imagine such a darkness or cloud brought before your eyes on the brightest day of summer, just as, conversely, in the darkest night of winter you can imagine a clear shining light. Give up such errors. That is not what I mean, for I say darkness, I mean the absence of knowing, in the sense that everything you do not know or have forgotten is dark to you because you cannot see it with your mind's eye. For this reason it is not called a cloud in the air, but a cloud of unknowing that is between you and your God. Chapter 4, Cloud of Unknowing.
Make a copy of my mom's benefit card.